As I'm sure, you know, it will not work now. We're all here, all on time. Just something is going to go wrong. Just, you know, it's too organised for Bogus. Dave jinxed us earlier in the week, but apparently we are on here.
It's saying live.
Yeah, yeah. I'd better mention that I've included my brother here with me this week. This is my younger brother, Gerard. He doesn't know I found this photo, but I thought he might like to be on the show this week. Never mix red wine and Facebook access. And everyone here knows that lesson.
Like that. Yeah.
Well, we are all here. All on time. We've already filled, you know, most of the seats in the hangout. I will put the live link out in a moment. Yeah. Just trying to show people you are dressed. I told you. Keep it down. We need the viewers. You can laugh, Terry. I'm making you go topless next week. I told you, you're only here for eye candy. Morning, Aidan, and to all our regular viewers who have joined us. Well, let's kick off in the traditional fashion. Bill, what have you been up to this week?
I experimented with some new equipment. I got an Airport Express device to help with my Wi-Fi. My home Wi-Fi has been terrible. I couldn't get Chromecast to work anymore. So I now have it working with Airport Express. Chromecast is coming in good. I can catch up on Netflix. So I'm not sure how much more work I'll be doing this week. I've got some shows to catch up on Netflix. Now I can watch them on a big screen.
You have to be careful there, because I'm just going to watch Netflix and chill has taken on a double meaning, apparently. So,
You end up watching the whole TV series at a time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've been revisiting an old series this week, so I finally got my partner to watch Peaky Blinders. The first two series of that are absolutely fantastic, and yes, binge watch those.
I just watched Stranger Ways, and that was really good. I
I've
recommend
been
that.
hearing good things about that. Yeah. Yeah. Right, Jen, what have you been up to this week?
Writing a lot about AMP so far with the change last week. A lot of people have a lot of AMP questions and pondering how to use it, if they should be using it, and all that jazz. So pretty much all been about AMP.
Wouldn't the question be, if you don't know how to use it, should you be using it? One would think no.
Well, it's pretty easy with the plugin. Most sites, unless you've done some major customization, they're mostly able to implement it okay. But I know sites that have more of the customized WordPress are having a lot of trouble kind of implementing it. But the other good news is a lot of the AMP errors that were formerly a problem are no longer errors anymore, so that's helping big time as well.
Yeah. I think the really important question, which I'd love to ask John Mueller, and it's the one everyone wants to know. Does AMP go up to 11?
Does AMP go where?
Go up to 11. You know, is it just a regular AMP? Only goes up to 10?
Can you put reverb on it too?
All your bass and treble belong to Gus. Yes. Terry, what have you been up to this week?
Oh, just, continuing to work on a new client. I love that because you always discover new things, right? New problems. You have to look in new places. All interesting.
It's why any form of marketing by numbers doesn't work, but SEO, just as much as everything else, it seems to work for a little bit, but it's one of those things. What works for one client can be completely disastrous for another. because they are in different positions, different markets, different areas of business, different amounts of reputation, different styles of audience, and anytime you see advice and even case studies by somebody else that, oh, we did this and we turned our site into, 10 times what it was. Well, that worked for them with their audience, with their product, with their exact position, with their exact failures and with their exact successes. It may work for you. The chances of it working exactly the same way for you are very, very slim, as the same as the chances that everything else is exactly the same. So, everything is experimentation.
Yeah, your mileage always varies.
Yeah.
Because it could come down to just someone I know that someone else doesn't know. That's what can make the difference sometimes.
I think a lot of people read way too much into someone will post a screenshot of analytics with cropping out all the numbers and just showing like the bar line of what it's doing and saying, oh, this site did this one thing and that's what resulted in this. But there's always so much other stuff that's going on. It could be something that's not related to your site. It could be something related to someone else in your space. There's just so many factors, and especially when people are posting about a site that has nothing to do with, like, they don't have internal access to any of the information, like they've picked it up out of SEMrush. Like, we think back when Wikipedia switched over to HTTPS, and there was that big news article that was doing the circuit saying Google hates Wikipedia, they're dropping all their pages, their ranks are gone, and really what it turned out to be is just they switched over to HTTPS, and the company that did this analysis didn't notice it.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen some amazing things that way. I did see somebody, one of the usual donkeys that I pick on, put a piece up about, you shouldn't do A/B testing, it fails over time. And when you look at the analytics shot he's got, it's of 5 days. And it's showing it normalising as the people in the office who all looked on the first day, get replaced by ordinary users.
Yeah.
And the slope goes down. Yeah. That's as it's getting more data, it's getting more accurate. This happens. 5 days is not over time. 5 months is over time.
Yeah.
But they know that. They just wanted to have the story.
These days, I think the hardest thing to really pin down is causation. In the old days, you could, it was so, I would hate to say the word simple, but it was compared to today, that you could figure out causation. Now, if you say you know why something happened, I know you're a fool.
Yeah.
And also, I guess, no matter how strict you are in doing, in almost trying to A/B test things, there are always some other factor that play that you can, even though you have access, you are the one that is publishing that chart. For example, we did something, we moved something from a subdomain to subfolder, and yeah, 9 out of 10 you could say that was the thing. But actually, when you look back in that period, the speed of those pages has improved. There were a few other factors that impacted, and then even in the very accurate A/B test that we were trying to do, we still don't know. Yeah, you can have a good guess, but there's always something playing, either with your customer, things could change out there, and that becomes difficult to measure as strictly over such a short time.
Yeah, I've seen people include things they didn't mean to include in an A/B test. David, I know you're not necessarily here with us for very long this evening, so hello, welcome, and what have you been up to this week?
On the work front, getting ready to launch that white paper we've been working on with Olark, which is the live chat company for websites. We should have that white paper out this week, and then we're going to be doing a webinar for hopefully for many of their 10,000 customers at the end of the month, which is pretty cool. Landed some new restaurant clients, which is good because usually this is the end of the summer where everything's dead, so it's kind of nice. And other than that, I've been chasing my wife around because she's performing all week, 7 performances in 7 days. So I'm wrangling the kids as we go from performance to performance. So yeah, somehow I have to sneak work in between performances. Yep.
Nice.
Lots of fun. And yeah, schema. Schema's been fun too. I took Bill's advice earlier today, and I'm hopefully going to get some movement on some menu item schema for restaurants. So.
Yeah, and this is, you know, one of the great things about schema is it is open for all of us to help steer it, help add in things. If there's something that you think schema should have,
Yep.
Start getting onto it. You know, put a proposal out there, get some people onto it. If people adapt it and adopt it, then you know it goes, it flies. That's the great thing about schema.
Yeah. To touch on something you guys were just talking about, I mean, like in the sidebar, there was a quick discussion about, you know, or Terry was mentioning an article on TechCrunch that we both read, you know, and what you guys were just talking about with marketers and showing analytics and, you know, a 5-day period. It's just so interesting how many marketers just have no idea what it is they're looking from a data perspective, and yet using it as proof, both publicly but also strategically. You know, just when they show you an image and they blank out the scale, for all you know, they went from 5 visitors a day to 50 visitors a day, and they're saying, I just did some amazing stuff. Look how much traffic I got. And you're like, how much is that is actual real? You know, and I see Terry's nodding enthusiastically, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I have a friend who likes to quote percentages in traffic gains. And we had a big argument about that. Basically, I says, that don't tell anyone anything unless you tell them what you started from.
As I've mentioned once or twice, I spent some time working with a market research company. Company I was with brought in a market research company. I mean, it was fascinating because there you had to understand the rules on what's actually needed for statistical significance. You know, I really enjoyed looking at what actual market researchers have to include. At the time they couldn't recruit most ways from the internet because that was considered in itself a bias. Nowadays, I think the internet penetration is enough that the bodies that we have, you know, accepted it. But even then, there are limitations. You can't recruit via forms on certain sites because those sites have a dedicated audience, which would then bias it. So, yeah, it was fascinating stuff. But you know, you look at these things and say, right, unless you're starting with a thing on, say, 1,000 people, it's probably not going to be significant anyway. So, you know, going from 5 users to 500, no matter what you do, nothing there is going to be statistically significant. You haven't got enough people as a base sample. I didn't do Kristin yet. Kristin, what have you been up to this week? Now that you're, you know, working hard, all these jobs going on. I mean,
yeah. Well, sorry, I was like listening to the discussion and reading about UTM codes. That's really cool stuff. Yeah, it's kind of fun hearing this discussion because Ben and I were in a call with a customer just earlier today, and yeah, she was using Google Insights to look at numbers, and she's like, how come, you know, the report says something different? And yeah, so people tend to just look at something and trust it because it's Google. And Ben and I were like, but it's broken. Like, that one is broken. like that tool is just like across like hundreds of different accounts. Like, it's just never accurate.
You're not in with the hard enough SEO crowd yet. Lots of people who Google said it must be false, you know, or Google said this doesn't happen, therefore it obviously is. And John now gets that a lot, trust me.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
like at the end of everything, like you really can't take one view of something. You have to look at it from many different perspectives and formulate your own reasonable opinion about what it means and what it means to the future of your company and like how it's going to affect what you carry out.
Yeah, it's one of those things. it's one of the things I had against Moz's regular surveys. And I know Bill and I have both talked about this in the past, and you, Terry, where it used to ask SEOs what they thought the most important metrics were involved in search for Google this year. And, you know, great, you've got the opinions of 10, 20, even 40 or 50 SEOs. But
it never asked that. It never asked what are the most important ranking factors. It asked which of these do you agree with Rand on are the most important ranking factors.
Yes. So it was a biased questionnaire anyway, because you've only given, you know, multiple choice of a group of things. But even then, if we all sat here and we discussed ranking factors, you would have a great idea what long-term professionals who work with good companies think are the ranking factors. It would not necessarily work for people with their own first blog, for people starting from nothing, for people who didn't understand years worth of the technologies involved. You know, we are biased. Our viewpoints are biased by where we are, by the experience we have. Even if we all agreed on something, it doesn't mean it would universally work for everyone. It would probably work for most people at our level of expertise with our level of clients. That's as good as it gets. You know, it's not until you get up to the statistical significance, 100 people, all levels of skills, all levels of experience, that you can actually say something works. William, you're sitting there quiet this week. What have you been up to this week?
Oh, you know me, just hanging out with maps. Been really kind of focused on a tangent with, I think, mapping 1,200 plus companies lately, and 11-mile radius to see if the actual number is correct that I'm thinking for not claimed businesses. Kind of sad, actually.
It's interesting to see the changes in Google My Business, isn't it? Where they've stopped the ability for companies to edit their listings there.
Yeah, you know, you have to lose a little to gain a little, I think. You know, there's a lot of things that are changing that people are not focused on that are, I think, more focused for the actual business and the opportunity. I mean, it's still free. The dashboard's changing, but you just have to get used to it. You know, if something changes, we all freak out in the industry. But I think, you know, it's to sit down, relax, and figure out where the analytics went to, and then get back to work. But that's just me. But yeah, I love where Map's going. I love where the mobile Map's going, the updates for that. There's some exciting stuff happening. And I think it's, you know, I'm watching the program with the new local guides, and that's been fun watching the progression, especially with their new community. You know, they got a new community out there. Was it localconnect.com or localguidesconnect.com? And there's a lot of hangouts going on, a lot of conversation going on there. All right, I'm shutting up again. Remember I was being quiet earlier? Thanks for inviting me.
And maps are certainly going to become more and more a thing that, you know, the internet is changing. It used to be something we went to. It is more and more about something we are always in, you know, where our mobile device is connecting us to the data and making us a part of that data everywhere we go.
You know
it's
what?
already gone.
There's something about that, though, that bothers me. The fact that anybody can go in and change my address. I don't see the validity in that.
But
what is the purpose?
They can't change your address. They can change your business hours. They may actually add some pictures to your listing, or they might change your business hours of operation.
You can change the address.
No,
you
have
can
to
change the address by changing the You can change it, believe me, so that it reads differently.
By maybe moving a marker. Is that what? Like maybe
No. What
There's
they
been
did
years of
was,
people reporting businesses closed and reporting new ones open, which effectively moves that business.
what people did was they just set up the address so that it looked like the suite number was the address of them.
And see, Terry, I've been watching a lot of that in the forums because that's where I actually got my interest of going into the local guides area and doing the stuff that I'm doing. Is at the same time as I'm trying to understand the verification process. And the verification process, if somebody changes their address, Terry, it has to go through it has to go through Mapmaker, and those people have to actually say, is this spam or is this not? Is this a real change or not? And then they have the opportunity to comment in Mapmaker. And I think that a lot of misconception is that I can move a map. And even with all the edits that I've done, out of probably, what is it, 1,600 edits I've done? Well, no. Total of taking pictures and stuff.
The person
changed like business hours and added telephone numbers and website addresses. But throughout that process, Terry, I've never been able to change the address.
Yeah. Does the person verifying it see the original address?
They see the original address in Mapmaker, and that's where I would encourage you to go out to Google Mapmaker and look at the actual details. And then there's a tab called History.
The thing is, the information, if you looked at it field by field, was still accurate, but when you read it, it actually looked like a different address. And that was my problem.
Gotcha.
And the fact that why would you be able to change a address? The only person who should be able to do that is the verified owner.
Correct.
No one else.
Absolutely. Right? No, I agree with you, Terry.
But they can.
Guys, we've got a question. I don't think this has happened before. A genuine one. Gemma Garcia has an open question about micro moments in contextual search. If mobile near me searches have increased 146% year over year, according to Google, how long do you think this trend will be continuing? Maybe next year we'll see within 5 months. These micro moments are a genuine thing, but they are tapping into a specific kind of audience. And mobile search is a very instant gratification kind of thing, because at the moment, they're not waiting until they get home and they're on their tablet. They're not waiting until they get home and doing it on a PC. They're not doing it on a laptop. These are the instant spur of the moment kind of searches. And if you can return something that is equally spur of the moment, it really does convert massively. You won't be booking hotels that way very often. You will sometimes when you just landed in a different place and something's gone wrong with your hotel booking, but most of the time, it's not quite spur of the moment enough. Certainly not for a vacation. One night stay, yes. Week-long stay, no. Booking a holiday, no. Changing your pension, no. Changing your life insurance, no. The things you're going to want to think about and give consideration to, these micro moments, don't happen in the same way. There tends to be a different kind of micro moment to those. And there you're looking at various micro moments over time. I do a search for information on this, and this brand comes up, and it's got good stuff. And then I'm researching further into this specific, and this company comes up. And then I'm asking people's opinions, and somebody says this company is great. And those multiple exposures to the brand all add up. They are micro moments, but it's the composite. And that part is where that happens for a lot of businesses. If you're selling cups of coffee, yes, the instant micro search is exactly what's going to be doing your business. I'm not going to spend 2 days researching where I'm going to buy my cup of coffee. I'm thirsty now, damn it. If I'm looking for a bar, I'm probably looking for right now. But if I'm looking to book a bar to have a party in, that's something I'm going to take weeks over. So these things are all contextual, and we have to be careful not to get carried away with them. But yeah. Anyone?
How do they know that they've increased some?
What, the year-on-year increase?
Yeah, 146%. That's not a small change.
Isn't that also due to the fact of how much mobile is growing?
I suspect some of it is probably voice search as well.
Yes.
Starbucks near me.
Okay, one thing I have noticed, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but a lot more businesses seem to be getting like a knowledge pen where they didn't in the past. Would that be the same as a micro moment?
It can be, but the micro moments are usually the very instant gratification searches, particularly the near me, the local searches.
Yeah.
Or the answering the question. I could be asking a simple question for the search engine and be able to get a quick response and an answer of how do I...
No, it isn't a question. I said, what I said was it was giving more knowledge panels for businesses, not a question about the business. But if you just put a business name in, when they first started doing it, you had to be a real name to actually get a knowledge panel, right? Now, give them to almost all businesses that have been around a while.
You say that, Terry, but Wikipedia have had knowledge panels forever, and they know nothing.
Well, that was the thing in the old days. You had to actually be in Freebase. It seems now they're figuring out entities that aren't in Freebase as well.
You needed to be in Freebase as well. You needed to be in 3 different ones originally. I think you still need to be in 2. It wants to cross-check. It wants to fact-check.
I see lots of businesses getting knowledge panels because they're verified in Google.
Yeah.
In Google My Business. A lot of the near me searches I see are search suggestions, drop downs. And I search for pizza, and it gives me a drop down of pizza near me. And if I select that, it'll try to find the nearest one.
Yeah, something neat I saw with that, Bill, was I was doing a search, doing business in Canada. It also gave those kind of like little drop-down things for registering a business in Canada, tax in Canada, but basically, those were all subtopics of the main topic, doing business in Canada. Yeah, that was very interesting when I came across that search.
Right, I'm just saying that most of the near me suggestions aren't people typing near me in, but rather people selecting near me drop down.
I do say near me for some stuff if I'm traveling, because like I'll be in some random city, I'll have no idea what neighborhood I'm in, what I'm close to, so I'll be like Starbucks near me or coffee near me or whatever I'm looking for, because if I wouldn't have a clue where it was unless I wanted to open up Google Maps and kind of see if I could figure out a neighborhood name. But no, like you were saying, it's instant gratification. So
part of it is that, you know, a couple of years ago, nobody thought to do these. And then people did start to think of it, and it's still spreading through. But has your mum started to do this yet? Has your dad?
Well, the thing is, why I started doing the near me is because of people talking in local search about all the near me searches. Increasing a percentage, and that is exactly why I started doing searches with near me attached to it. Otherwise, before I'd like try to figure out what neighborhood I was in.
So to Gemma's question, my feeling is that this has still got quite a way to grow because it hasn't saturated everybody yet. Our mums, our uncles aren't the kind doing this yet. The average Facebook user isn't doing this yet, but probably the average Twitter user is starting to.
On my desktop, if I search near me, it shows result for near where it thinks my ISP is located and connecting to the web, which is 10 miles away. If I search for the name of my town shares the name of the place in Wales. So I get pizza places in the UK when I do that, which isn't going to help me for lunch.
A good point, Bill, but a lot of people that are doing a search, and I don't use the near me anymore. I just basically ask for pizza, and it's going to know by GPS where I am, And what I like to actually have on my pizza were places I've already been. So going back to the actual history of my searches, you can go and use the assistant and say, hey, William likes this type of pizza, and he doesn't like going to this one. So
And
don't.
William, that's a search on your phone, right?
That is the same thing on a desktop, though. You still don't have GPS location, like you were saying. You know, it's gonna guess its location based off the ISP. But that's where the phone technology, mobile, is going to be a lot more prominent. But even when we were talking about knowledge panel, right? The knowledge panel, we're talking about business, but we haven't talked about things like, you know, something like Mother Teresa, right? You know, okay, so I'm going to get a person, and that's going to be a different type of query than a restaurant. And I think that a lot of things are happening in the knowledge graph, but a lot of people are saying, hey, it's all the Google My Business affecting that knowledge panel, but that's two different things. You've got business side and then the actual person or celebrity side, which is a different type of
right, but you can get business-related knowledge panels that are based upon Google My Business and business-related knowledge panels that are based on Wikipedia, and they're different.
Yeah.
So one of the big changes with that was showing social profiles for the Google My Business related listings like 2 weeks ago. That was a new change. They were only showing those for the Wikipedia type business listings before then. So they're merging the two. They're connecting them in new ways.
And I think that's where I started with how I'm excited about Maps and the way that it's reacting on both desktop and mobile. It's been a really cool experiment for myself with the Google Local Guides program to actually express or put myself into the whole community and understand what's missing in business right now. And I'll go further with that later, but I think there's exciting stuff. So anyhow, I'm chatterboxing again. I'm setting up.
I just Googled it as a test, and on Google UK with the UK IP, and there's like a local knowledge panel with a company called Near Me, based in San Francisco. That is good.
Part of it is going to be how much data you've let Google collect on you, and how much you've let your computer collect on you. When I installed Windows 10, I chose to have it not track my location and not pass that on to other apps, and you know, I haven't regretted that decision because I want to work with lots of companies all around the world. Still, I don't necessarily want localized data skewing that. So for me personally, that kind of stuff doesn't always work. My history with Google means that it does know where I am, but I do turn off a lot of the things that would help it. But the average user, yeah, you know, they're not going to. It's why I always say people who do their SEO reports, oh, where do we rank? Oh, well, if I don't log in, let's see where I rank not logged in. That's great. Now you know where other SEOs may or may not see you based on, you know, having the same data center and IP address. So, you know, other SEOs logged out in your town may see those same results, but the home user is getting their personalized results. And what's really important is that you have the same search history as them if you want to have any clue what they're seeing.
Yeah. And I guess that's also affecting, so like when we eventually used to do ranking, use a ranking tool in the past, versus now when Google is picking up your location ISP through the browser. Like, you know, that is not what the user is going to see. It's what like a bot that has opened 5,000 results is seeing. Like, and that's why, like, would you trust that one more than like Search Console data or more than your data? You know?
Yeah. Well, hopefully we answered Gemma's question. If not, if you've got a refinement, Gemma, do let us know. It's certainly one of the things to be more aware of these days. You know, we had this slightly naive view of the web way back, some more so than others, but you know, you tended to think that everyone coming to your site was probably sat on a PC, probably at home, and during the day they were sat on a PC, probably at the office. And not everyone even thought of both of those as two different situations which would have different mindsets. But that was about as diverse as it got. And as mobiles come in, as tablets have come in, as laptops are travelling around with people everywhere, as tablets are travelling around with people everywhere, and of course a mobile phone really does travel everywhere. You know, are you going to in future have to think, well, my site looks really good for most situations, but how's the sitting on the lavatory search going to be for this site? You know, is this a relaxing site for that particular moment where they're idling away 5 minutes where they used to be reading a newspaper? The nature of the web is that, you know, all situations matter, and usability is a whole different ballgame today to what it was 10, 15 years ago. We really do have to think of so many more scenarios that our users can be in. You know, yeah, this site's great when you've got the time to sit down and read it. What about the person who is actually walking along looking at this on a small screen? Is your business something where people are going to be doing micro moments? Are you a limousine hire company? Are you a taxi hire company? Are you a hotel? Are you a flights provider? You know, any of these things that can be very quick decisions. Restaurants. These people are going to sometimes be walking along in traffic, lots of distractions all around them. How quickly and clearly can they find the information that they need when there are distractions all around them? And, you know, usability is more important today than it's ever been before.
I didn't go to a restaurant when I was traveling the other weekend because I couldn't open their website on my phone. At the end, because it was slightly out of that town, but yeah, very good review. Like according to the review, it was going to be amazing. But I didn't know whether it was open. I couldn't find the menu and those kind of details. And then you just like, it seems stupid, but like, you know, they lost a customer and I was there, you know, as easy.
Yeah. I mean, years ago, I always used to tell my clients, look, whatever number you usually give people as your contact number, I want a different number for the website so that we can track when people are specifically being referred by the website. If you can't afford a second number, and you know, sometimes you're dealing with very small clients, give them an extension, or better still, give them a specific person or department to ask for. You won't always necessarily use the right extension, although more people will do that than will, you know, quote a reference number. But if you give them a specific person or department, they'll almost always do that. And we used to sometimes tie that to more advanced coding. So if somebody had come through on a specific kind of keyword from Google, the person they were asking for, their initial was G. It would be a Geraldine or a Georgina or a George or a Jeffrey with a G. And, you know, I had ways of passing that tracking information through, even through the phones, because the person they asked for told you what campaign they were on. And the reason for that kind of stuff is, you'd be amazed how often companies were saying, oh, our mobile traffic isn't converting. This is years later, because back then we didn't even have much mobile traffic. But you get companies, oh, our mobile traffic isn't converting. We get lots of them coming to the site, but you know, they're never filling in the booking forms or anything like that. It's your phone number on your page. Yeah. Guess how they're converting? They've got a phone in their hand. Guess how they're going to convert? Do you really think they're going to sit there typing one key at a time, filling in a form, rather than just hitting the number and dialing? Oh. So start tracking separately. Mobile users, give them a different number or give them a specific thing to ask for, and track, you know, get people to record on a piece of paper if need be how many calls asked for George or how many asked for this department. And guess what? It tallied up. The mobile users were converting by phone because they're using a phone. This almost brings us right back to the warped statistical views that we kind of started with. If you're not asking the right questions, you cannot get the right answers. And so many people, they start funneling themselves down the wrong path instead of opening things out and trying to discover. And sometimes you've got to take those blinkers off. You've got to throw away your assumptions and specifically look for things that go against your assumptions. If you're right, you won't find them right. But look for them. It's so important to challenge your assumptions. It's so important to be a good SEO to have peer review. And you need to kind of, if you can't get peer review on something, be your own peer review. Imagine yourself as your own harshest critic trying to prove you wrong. How do you go about it? How do you prove you're wrong? And do that.
Easy, I don't care.
Yeah,
Worked so far.
It is one of those things. You've got to open your eyes. You've got to look for the answers where you're not expecting them sometimes. And so few people do that. And it's why certain people, I will criticize so many of the articles they put out and the reports they generate and the stats they generate to support their preconceived and prejudged conclusion. Because they haven't tested it at all. They've only tested, can I find numbers to support this? Yes. What did you also check? Did you look for numbers that disprove it? Did you do something to disprove it? Because if you didn't, you haven't done anything.
I had an argument with a friend that if everyone is doing it, you can't really see if it's a problem because it's a problem for everyone, right? So if there's a problem with large images at the top of a page, if everyone has it, everyone has the same problem, so it doesn't look like a problem. It looks A-okay. He thought I was crazy. But I look at a lot of things like that. I guess I'm a contrarian in that, to me, the best SEO strategy is doing what the other guys aren't doing, because everyone else is doing that. That's always been my main thing. Look for what other people don't do and spend your time doing that, and the other stuff you don't have to do much of it because it doesn't really do much for you because everyone else is doing it. It's negated by Google probably as well.
Yeah. Jen, you've been quiet. We're going to have to get you speaking again. Years ago, there was something a bit like that. We had Overture, and just before GoTo had opened up over here and changed their name to Overture, a local engine doing just Europe had opened up called eSpotting.
Oh, yeah.
And eSpotting were copying everything Overture was doing. And I said at the time, that's going to get them nowhere. Because if you copy what the leader is doing, that's great. You're going to be second everywhere. And that sounds great. Oh, look, we're the second biggest. That's good enough for us. We're the second this. That's good enough for us. When Yahoo are looking for a provider, there is no second. There is just the first loser. Somebody gets the deal, and everybody else doesn't. And with businesses, if you are copying somebody else's strategy, if your existing strategy right now is to be second, being the second person to a done deal is being a loser. One person gets that deal. You've either got to have a unique approach that gets you the deal and not them, or your business is dead. It just doesn't.
You see that a lot, where companies just think, oh, I'm just going to copy what the big guy is doing and we can be just as good as them, where what they really should be doing is, okay, we can be doing a lot of things that the big guy is doing, but what can we do to set our business apart from everyone else? What can make our business something that makes everyone want to come and use us instead of using the big guy because we have all these better whatever?
But one of the problems that SEOs have is they think that every site that's in the news business is the same as the New York Times. A lot of them really believe that that's how Google sees things. It doesn't. It knows the difference between Joe Blow's news site and the New York Times. It does know the difference for sure.
And it does know the difference between the various, types of news sites as well. There is a difference between the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and the London Times and the Financial Times. Now, they're all very reputable papers. They've all got very strong audiences. They've all got huge reputations. But they've all got reputations that are subtly different. And I guarantee you, Google understands that difference. It understands, when one paper is massively influential because it's very popular, not because it's necessarily the most accurate, but because it's the most cited or the most known. Over here, that would be, the Sun and the Mirror, tabloid press. The Mail, of course, has been doing huge things online. That doesn't necessarily turn them into a Pulitzer Prize-winning news source.
I've been wondering what Verizon is going to do to distinguish itself as a search engine. And I haven't seen anything so far. I was surprised that so many things from Yahoo closed down before they sold themselves. Like Yahoo Labs went out of business. And a lot of people from Yahoo left Yahoo, a lot of the search engineers.
Yep.
No idea why they let them walk. It seemed like the type of thing that would...
I don't know that Verizon really want a search engine at all. I mean, what they were always after was the ad networks before, and that was why they were after AOL. It certainly is the thing everyone expects with Yahoo. And Yahoo have a lot of deals to place ads in other places than their search engine, which is just as well because they needed more than the number of people who actually use Yahoo search still to make impressions count.
So it's an advertising network. That's what they sold it as.
Whether
They're
they
going
sold
to
it as
put AOL in charge.
Verizon certainly, that was what they were after. Verizon have a very, very big ad network already, and acquiring AOL made a lot of sense to them at the time. And it was the existing deals for AOL ads that were a large part of that. I would think that the same is true of Yahoo. I don't know that Verizon actually want to get into the search wars because, as we know, that's a very expensive business. It costs a lot, and the only person actually making money out of it is Google.
I think Apple's make a couple dollars too.
Yeah, but Apple aren't really in search. I wouldn't really call Apple, say that Apple has search. It's got Siri, but it's an add-on service for all the other things Apple do. The Apple Store, yes. Apple Store is huge. iTunes, yes, huge. The ability to search iTunes, important.
And Maps too.
Ammon, about what you just said, when you think that the two recent sales of AOL and Yahoo, right, or the people who are, they're both broadcasting networks, right? Could it be that their plan is to set up ad networks, ads that are in the television? Because they can do that kind of stuff real soon. The set-box top, the set-box, the thing in the, it can do that. It tells me on my television what telephone calls I've received. That is what I think they're really looking at, and then they can integrate it all. That was a very interesting when AOL got bought. I saw Tim Cook is his name, I believe, the CEO of AOL. He was talking on CNBC. And they were talking about, it was about advertising. Yeah. They can also use their sales reps for the, the other advertising they do to sell ads on AOL. I think there's a long-term strategy there that's just playing out.
I certainly think that that's possibly a part of it. I would think that they intend to be, if they're going to try and serve ads as a broadcaster, then they need to kind of get into the Netflix position to do that. I wouldn't say that television and box sets are, set-top boxes are the way to go right now, because one of the huge things we're looking at is virtual reality and augmented reality. As I say, one of the big things of that is that in a couple of years you'll have a set of glasses instead of any of the screens you use right now, and anytime you want the screen, that screen will appear. It will appear in your glasses. You don't need a big TV, you don't need any of that stuff, because if you want one, it can make you see one. The idea of, your 60-inch screen or your cinema screen or any of those other things, your glasses will put them in your eyesight whenever you need them. The idea is that it will be more like the interactive virtual reality of things like Minority Report. If I want the screen, up it appears. I can see it. I can interact with it. I can just sit back and watch it. But it's projected. I don't actually need a screen anymore. That is certainly somewhere we are. The technology is there now. It can do it now. They just can't provide it at a price that most of us would be willing to pay.
There are some frameworks being set into place, like the FTC has approved for independent third-party companies like Google, Yahoo, Verizon, and so on, to provide set-top boxes as opposed to the cable companies being the ones providing them. And the FTC has gone through with that. They've approved it.
I certainly think there's some short play there, but honestly, I think they are looking at a future of 5 years or less.
Yeah.
Because I really think that the whole point is for those devices to mean that our screens are wherever we want to see them. And I really honestly think we are less than 10 years from that. 10 years from that being pretty much the norm.
The only thing is that kind of takes the social right out of it. I mean,
anyone can tune their glasses into it.
Watching something on glasses is different than them focusing on the TV, I believe.
I don't know, Terry. Maybe you have to put your heads together. Touch your glasses to the person next to you, and you can share your visions.
Right. There might be third screen applications running wild that allow people to get more social with social networks and media at the same time. You're watching TV and you can comment on what you're seeing on Twitter through the same device that you're watching on.
Yeah, double Kristin. Yeah, and the echo to go with it.
I couldn't see anything.
You froze on the first one. Have you got any headphones for that one? It's certainly a thing that augmented reality is heading that way fast enough. There is a lot of money going into it. We've all looked at some of the big budgets that are going into virtual reality right now. They are not going to be wanting to take more than 5 years to start cashing back. So I do expect to see these devices really starting to come into the market heavily over the next 5 years. And within 10 years for it to have, started to really saturate. Everyone is investing in this, and everyone is investing in it very, very heavily. They're going to want to make their money back.
I suspect HoloLens is going to be one of the biggest holiday sellers this year.
John is come to let us know that we've only got a few minutes left. That's what it is. Hey, John, how are you?
Hi.
Good job.
So, are you allowed to speculate on the Verizon purchase? What you think is their end goal? We think advertising rather than entering the search market, because search is a very expensive game. Microsoft have pulled back to some extent, and it's been very useful to them anyway.
Oh man, I just realized I had the YouTube player in another tab, and I was trying to understand this weird echo. So what were you saying?
We were talking about Verizon purchasing Yahoo, and whether we think that that's for the ad network, or whether we think they are wanting to enter the search game. What do you think?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Would you
I mean,
there's into search. It's very expensive, isn't it? It's very expensive business to be in.
I don't know. I don't have my own search engine. I mean,
you're the closest from your mangas,
I don't know. It's always interesting to have more people doing search, because people come up with interesting ideas that others might not have come up with, and especially if you don't have the same resources as others, you think differently, and you try to solve the problem in different ways, and that might lead to some interesting new changes. Who knows?
Do you remember the open source search engine where everyone could download their own version of the software, and it basically distributed the crawling between all the users of the search engine? Whatever happened to that? I mean,
I have no idea.
That really seemed like an interesting approach, didn't it? I wonder if it just didn't have enough users, or whether... I don't know, but it seemed like a really interesting alternate approach, and nothing seemed to come of it.
I mean, on the other hand, you have to be okay with random web pages being crawled through your internet connection, and I don't know if everyone is really okay with something like that. But it's I don't know. I have no idea what Yahoo is planning, or Verizon. I don't know. I'm sure they have some good ideas.
Yeah. William was asking about DuckDuckGo. No, DuckDuckGo they're not there. Their search is not as good as Google, not as good as Bing, not as good as Ask was yet. But their big thing is no tracking, and there's a lot of sort of anti-Google, anti-advertising people who have been supporting DuckDuckGo. I hope that they do continue to grow and that good things happen for them. But at the moment, you really can notice the technology.
They actually have a page where you can look at their traffic. I noticed that a while back. And you can see it's still kind of going up. So they're doing some neat things. And kind of handling that kind of traffic, what is it, 100 million, 100,000 queries a day? I have no idea. It's like it takes a little bit of infrastructure to actually make that work. That's not something you can just like slap together a server and put it in a cellar.
They have been adopted by Tor. The Tor network tends to direct you to DuckDuckGo as a default, because DuckDuckGo tries no tracking ever, and that fits with the Tor network's philosophy. So that's generating a lot of traffic from them.
I have no idea. Can you tell us more about the dark web?
Right.
Sorry, Kristin.
Probably pretty popular with Anonymous, too.
Yeah. There's certainly a big backlash generally against the amount of tracking that goes on across the world as a whole, and it's not, this isn't something I'm wagging my fingers at Google. As far as I'm concerned, Google at least did something interesting with the data. They serve me more personalised results, and they serve me a better experience. What really gets me is the ad networks, who do nothing for me. They're not really interested in showing me a better quality of ad. They're interested in an ad I'm more likely to click. That's it. and you know, people say, "Oh, you shouldn't be blocking ads," and more people are blocking ad blockers. Yes, they are. And the reason is they want more and more of their privacy back, and they're not blocking your ads, it's blocking that ad network. Certainly, DuckDuckGo has benefited a lot from its promise, no tracking. I do think it has helped. But I don't think their search technology is up there yet. I'm still getting much better results on Google. We are at time. Let's do a very quick roundup of what everyone's up to this week. Bill, what have you got coming up?
I'm not sure. I'm going to keep on working with my Wi-Fi and see if I can get everything else to work well again, now that Chromecast is working really well. I'm going to make sure my printer is actually wirelessly printing, because it had stopped.
Yep. Jen?
Writing as usual, I'm sure. Nothing too terribly exciting.
If John cackles evilly, you know there's some big news coming up, but I think you're okay for the moment. You got to watch Gary, he's the real joke. Terry?
Oh, this week, just the same old writing more, but not on SEO, more business tips and thinking hard about how to set up a community for the business center I work for.
Kristin, other than IT support, what have you got in this coming week? You're muted.
Yeah, unmute that there, girl.
Yeah, I'm trying to juggle that. Can you hear me okay, or do I have horrible feedback?
It's good now.
Fab, what are you up to this week?
Same at work. Lot going on. I'm in the process. I started last week to basically move from a lot of websites, test websites, and they have through to another, and I'm fighting with this thing, and it's incredible. They probably all together to make sure they give the worst possible experience as I can. And has been was moving these sites. I took the opportunity to chop them down, and so I've been crawling them extensively, and that's quite. I tried a few new scraping frog features that were quite nice. The JavaScript rendering. They had some other kind of scraping extension. Yeah, it's and it's good to see tools like Screaming Frog, which at the end I still assume is a small company, but they do put the effort to release features that are they save you a lot of time. Building a crawler and then some extraction out of it would take a little bit of coding, but anyone can do it pretty quickly. So. But the whole migrating experience from one host to another has been terrible. I don't do it often, but probably that was the.
William?
Yes, sir. I'm actually fixing one Google Map listing at a time. So I think I'm down to a couple thousand now. Just kidding. I will be soon.
The world's a big place. When you finish your town, Google's going to suddenly introduce you to the next town. It's like, right, it's your job. You volunteered.
I've done an 11-mile radius, and I'm actually starting to boundary out of my own city into other cities to try to map them as well.
Yeah, don't try and sound impressive with 11 miles. Do you know how big the world is?
Well, considering I haven't been able to walk very well, so that's actually a pretty good advantage there.
Why do you think Google's working on self-driving cars? That's no excuse.
Well, I've got the selfie picture in my slide deck for tomorrow.
Cool. Avinash, if you've got a mic, do you want to say what you're up to? No mic, no worries. Well, I think we'll quickly let John finish up then, and then we'll head off. John, what are you up to this week?
Yeah, we're going to be announcing a bunch of really cool and interesting stuff that will change the industry completely.
Oh, nice.
Either this week or one of the future weeks. I'm not quite sure. It might be sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Come on, you're running Penguin. We all know.
I don't know. On the side, I'm writing lots of stuff, reviewing a bunch of neat docs that people are working on, and making test sites again. So I thought it would be useful to double check how we actually index JavaScript stuff. So I'm making a whole bunch of test sites that use JavaScript rendering.
Do you still do, very much of your own stuff, or do you kind of spend so much time with internet stuff these days that the last thing you want to do with your time off is more internet stuff?
I spend a lot of time on the internet, so it's not so much that I do my own stuff, but every now and then I'll take my blog and look at the last post like 10 years ago or whenever that was and install 25 WordPress updates and think about whether or not I should convert everything to AMP, because that would also be a nice challenge. At some point I should get back to writing a blog, but it's always like the situation where I should be writing a blog, and I look at it and I think, I could write this and this and this, and then I get 500 emails, and somehow that time just disappears.
Yeah. But it's also one of those things. I think a lot of people who I still love the internet, but I must admit, the last thing I want to do with a lot of my time off is spend more time on websites, even my own websites. And games are one way I keep my sanity.
I just saw an article saying that the web was announced 25 years ago today. So that's like 25 years of this industry, essentially, which isn't very much when you compare it to like telephone or TV. That's like a really short time.
It's next to no time. And let's face it, the internet as we know it, really, you can point a very firm finger back about, 15 years.
Yeah.
There was a real turning point around 2000, where I'd say that's where contextual stuff started to really start to come in. We'd seen Amazon playing with it a little bit. People who bought this also bought, but almost nobody else. And that's where it really started to me, to become Web 2. It's not about forums or any of the rest of it. It was when it started to get more contextual.
Web 2.0? So when are we moving to Web 3.0? Isn't it time?
Just after the next Penguin update. When is that? That's all we got time for this week. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be carrying our conversation in the green room, no doubt. Take care.
Bye-bye.